Well, I guess the love-hate with Grasshopper for Rhino is I know if I sit down, it's like playing chess. I could think 4 or 5 moves ahead, but I have this tendency to just go back to how I kind of hammered things together, to how I put things together, how it was physically necessary. And yeah, I feel like, man, look at all those other examples of great stuff. Here's a great example of a few nodes making something that I think is kind of interesting, being able to pull that into different tool sets. I understand the geometry. I know how to manipulate it, but I have to do it in a very physical way. So I think for the visual artist, maybe some designers, this is just a way to getting at it. And I'm not too bad at chess, but my 10-year-old can still beat me in many situations. Not saying that good programmers are good chess players all the time. Let's jump into it. I did bake this for him, so it's here. I'll take it out for a second and just pop it into hidden, and we'll put it back on something we can actually see. And yes, I'm still playing with all these lists. I haven't even gone into it. I mean, I could change the geometries by introducing these simple set list nodes. And here I am again, just applying insert items. No, I think I'm using item. What am I using? I don't know. I think list item. That's what I'm using mainly. So what I did was I built a bunch of geometries, and I basically went in and thought to myself, once again, series of points. I have this set of points, which is a simple parabola-based object, and I'm not going to move anything because my script's moving in a few seconds, so it's slow. And then I had another set of points that ran this way, and I've kept the count very, very low on those steps, like 2 and 4. And the reason is it just gets to be outrageous all of a sudden when you're dealing with this multiplication. But you start to understand lists of lists, and I think of ranges as a list of numbers. So when I mirror that one, I get this side. When I mirror that one, I get the other side. So when I bring them together, I have this curve and this curve. Excuse me. That one's actually here. So, uh, both curves. So basically, I have a list of 5 points that kind of curls up in a very shallow parabola, and I have another one that curves up in a little sharper parabola, and they're perpendicular to one another. So I'm not interpolating them. I'm actually not going to interpolating curves. I'm going to deal in points. I fully intend on bringing in this lumber, and those are 10-foot long 2x4s. So that's basically what I'm thinking of. Is I have a bunch of stock. How am I going to make that stock fit nicely into where I want it to go? Well, I'm going to take my data, these points, and actually I'm going to bring that geometry into an orient. I actually want these points, this series, to be set oriented to those points. That's why my count's so long. It's kind of a way of grafting, and that's what I end up making. Is this little, and there's other ways to make it, but it's how I think about it. I also called out my pattern by a dispatch, so it would have less. And my dispatch pattern doesn't remove too many. Actually, I think I've used them all. There's a couple of points that disappeared. So I actually wanted a better pattern than true false. I may go in and change that. But basically, there's my dispatch pattern. And what I've done with that is put that on as the base of bringing in that lumber. That's it. Lumber comes in on that called pattern. I guess I could change it. I don't want to do it right now. It'll slow it down. Then when I have lumber, I can start thinking, okay, let's deal with faces. And there's my list item. Let's grab certain faces. Let's grab the front one. Let's grab the back one. And I'll just grab a center point, and I'll grab my nicely structured point 000, which I'm using forever in the script. I like to get oriented. I like to orient my geometry and what I'm doing to that. And basically, I take those, and I'm moving that point up and down and in and out. So I have 2 points. I move it down, then I move it out. Now I've got 2 center places of arcs, which I can bring in lists of lists into a list. And I end up with this crazy pattern. And there it is. What a wonderful arced pattern to think about geometrically. And then all I use is the fancy, you do spend a lot of time slowing down your script when you go into the morphs and go into here, but I love the bend deform. It's dependent upon an arc, but I can control arcs. And when I can control arcs, I can use the bend arc tool. And there it is. What an explosion. I think I only took half the data. I haven't even graphed it. I don't even dare to have it do more. But what a way to start thinking of geometry. And believe it or not, this was because of a conversation with somebody who was interested in building boats and canoes and making works, for Frank Gehry in the sense of a sailing ship. Now, would this sail? No, but it might float depending on what I made of it. I think it's a great little exercise to go in and understand how you come at it. Don't be frustrated that you can't think 20 moves or 4 moves ahead and beat a computer at chess. You will get there. You will memorize these nodes. They'll be in your inventory. You will know them by icon. You'll not even need to know the inputs and outputs to them and become familiar. The trick is not to make works that always look the same. So throw something in there that'll throw you. And what I did was say, okay, I'll just start with lumber. And life experience is what it's key about. Whatever you do, whatever you've found as a passion, bring that to the scripting and think of making it the exact same way you would orient something to be cut on a saw, to know your cutting marks, to know your router marks. Go in here and see what happens. Now, if I take my solver off and just do this and I drop and sharpen that one up and even sharpen this curve up even more, I'm afraid to put my solver on and see if it crashes. But I obviously have to wait for that little bit of time. I'm stalling out here for you guys, but another 5-minute script. Keep adding it to it, and it's not showing. Actually, it did default. Something defaulted, or it's still thinking of working. Something's happening. There's jumping, slowing down. But then again, when you have scripts like this and you go further back to the beginning, you're going to run into these snags. And I think I've got my solver going. Yeah. Whether we crashed or not, sorry to waste your time, but that's dealing with misfortune well in the studio, and certainly dealing with misfortune in your own designs. And there it is. It came out, and it's a little more hairy. And I kind of think of this sometimes. It's not activated. It's not a fast rendering, real time Houdini type structure. It's geometric. I've taken 2x4s, and if I really wanted to give somebody a task, I'd say steam all the wood and bend it into those planks, and we've got something. But it is a nice piece of geometry, however you end up start thinking about it architecturally or detailed. And obviously I'm doing things here that I would have a terrible time trying to get ceramic shell out of and casting. And I think most people that get into those they're always wanting to do something crazy like filigree and hair and beeswax and all this stuff that's detailed. Push it for what you can do in this design. You'll go places, you'll get your creative juices going, and then, yeah, once again, you got to hit the studio and think of fabrication. So that's where I'm taking it. Start with 2x4s and do to them what you'll never be able to do. What you think and what you say you're going to do and what you write about and draw is so much more infinite than the ability to actually make certain iterations come into, how many buildings are actually built by architects and how many, pieces of jewelry are actually made for everyone planned. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I rambled on a bit, but I think it's important. So there's the script, pretty simple. I'll put it up on GitHub and keep going. I haven't had too many requests to keep putting them up, but I know there's more and more people following, so I'll let those scripts get out there and be playful. Thanks for watching. I'm going to be stuck on this set list for some time now. I really was thinking I'd just apply different ones the way I'd applied the mathematical polynomials and see what these do to the list to change the geometry. Why not manipulate things by not just number, but lists? Hopefully I'll get into actually lists of lists and dealing with tree path, data trees sooner or later a little more. Thanks for watching.